Okay, welcome back. Happy Monday. Today, September 26th, is our 9th class of the semester. Today is our review day for test number 1. I'm only going to talk for, I don't know, 6 minutes today, and then the rest of the time you will work on practice problems, whatever that means. Coming up on Wednesday is test number 1. The material covered is everything for the semester, classes 1 through 8 in particular. And I'll tell you today like what I think are the best ways to prepare for this test on Wednesday. Wednesday's test is a full period test. We'll start right at 1 o'clock. We'll end right at 2:15. If you finish early, you leave early. There's no like other agenda or anything that's going to happen on Wednesday besides the test, okay? A couple of classes ago, you did turn in the quiz. I graded it over the weekend. I will hand it back today in just a little bit. Any questions on the calendar? Okay. All right, so taking a look at the top of page 49, it says today's class is dedicated to review for test number 1. So your homework for the coming class is to study. There is no additional MyMathLab homework. But there is an optional test review assignments in MyMathLab, and so you'll see it. I think it's clearly written, you know, like practice problems for the test or something like that. Doesn't count for a grade, totally optional, but that's one of the resources you have available as you prepare for the test. No learning objectives. The test itself is on number 10, and then if you've been reading ahead, you can go ahead and read ahead for the class after the test. But in terms of resources, on the very next page, page 50, at the bottom it says you can go over problems to help you review and practice the concepts that we've covered. You can go over any of the old homework problems. They're still there available to you. You can take a look at the feedback I'm going to give you on the quiz when I hand that back in just a few minutes. Another good source of problems, which I mentioned the other day, are the sample test problems, which I think start on the next page after this. And the nice thing about that is there are videos on YouTube of me going through each of them. So even if you're, you know, like studying frantically on Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, don't call me, but you can take a look at my solutions to these guys, all right? And then this will be good news if you didn't know it. You're allowed to bring in a 1-page reference sheet of your own creation to have with you during the test, the cheat sheet. That reference sheet can be front and back. Anything at all that you want to put on there is fair game with very few exceptions. So here are some things that are totally legal to put on there. You can put definitions, you can put theorems, you can put formulas, you can put practice problems solved all the way out. If there's a particular kind of problem that you find that you're not good at and can't remember how to do, find the toughest one you can, find the solution, write it all out step by step so you have it there in front of you. But all of those things are fair game. Pretty much the only thing I don't want to see on your reference sheets is photocopies of stuff from my packet or photocopies of another person's reference sheet. The key here is I want you to make it. In making a reference sheet, you might be doing a lot of good in terms of studying for the test, okay? It just sort of happens in making a coherent reference sheet. Speaking of the reference sheet, if we go back 2 pages, on page 48, let's go here right now. So page 48 is this big thing at the top. It says Equation Summary Study Aid. And so let's take a look at this first row here, which has been filled in for us. So the type of equation is linear. And then here in words, it says how to solve algebraically. And so the first bullet point says, oh, you could simplify both sides of the equation by dealing with parentheses if there are any, using the distributive property, combine like terms if possible, and then you're going to get the constant term onto one side and the variable term onto the other side, and then you're going to multiply or divide by the right number to solve for x. And then there's this example problem worked out right over here, right? And so the first step, distribute the 3, then get the x's to one side and the constants to the other, and then finally divide both sides by 2, and we've got our answer. So filling in the rest of this table is completely optional. You know, the next example is about solving quadratic equations as opposed to linear, solving absolute value equations. It might be a good idea to just kind of fill this in as you're studying, and you might come up with, you might find gaps in your knowledge that you weren't really aware of as you fill this thing in. If you decide that this is a good exercise and a good use of your time, you're welcome to bring this thing in as your reference sheet. The back has some, you know, nonsense on it. So I said you can do a front and back on the reference sheet. So this could be your front and then just a blank piece of loose leaf paper, just write on one side of it, other stuff that you're interested in. Okay, but it's equivalent to a front and back. So this might be good as one of your sides of your reference sheet. Okay, so you're welcome to work on this now or not. You could do it later, or you could never do it. It's up to you. But anyway, it's here, and it might be a good exercise for you. Okay, so aside from that, I think maybe part of what we should be working on are these practice test problems, starting on page 51. So raise the flag. I'll walk around and check homework. I'll walk around and answer questions, but I got no other agenda for today, okay? So study however you see fit.